Hi there, this is Janet Gershensiegel, and I'm the Lonely Writer. This is my capstone project for Quinnipiac University. I'm a master's degree candidate in interactive media. And today I am talking to Ronnie Virdi, who is a fellow independent author. I am, this capstone project is all about social media help for the independent author. The independent writer is defined as a person who does not yet have an agent. So I'm talking to Ronnie because he has a certain measure of fame in the NaNoWriMo Facebook group. And for those who don't know, NaNoWriMo stands for November is National Novel Writing Month. And what we do every November, and we actually sometimes do this in other months as well, is we take 30 days and we write like the wind, and we're supposed to write 50,000 words towards, it can be fiction or nonfiction. They're a little looser about the rules these days, but generally the idea is write a novel in 30 days or less, and then probably edit it for the rest of your days. But anyway, so Ronnie is he is the author of Grave Beginnings and Grave Measures, and we've also worked together on a few charity anthologies as well. So can we start maybe talking about? Well, let's talk about you. What is your background other than writing?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm pretty young. I'm 26. My background before that is career job hopper. I started college when I was 18. Went to community college, and I didn't know what to do. The summer before I started college is when I first started writing, and I wrote the most awesome, god-awful novel ever because it was my first novel. So it was awesome by default because I was excited. I knew what I was doing, and I didn't need a writing degree or anything. And after that, I'd just been hopping in and out of school, studied automotive technology. I worked as a mechanic for years between all manufacturers like Toyota, Ford, Porsche, up and down the range. Worked in retail, the fitness industry, custom computers and gaming. And now at this point, I'm lucky enough to eke a living by just from writing. So I am scraping by on the whole writing train right now, which is nice.
Fantastic. So, is Grave Beginnings like your first really big novel, your first success? How do you want to
Yes.
phrase that?
I'll consider it my first published and successful novel. I've written 4 before that, and I'll count them as my practice ones, in between with some that I never completed to hit the fabled 1 million words of, before you work the crap out of your system. Grave Beginnings was published December 2013 on Christmas, actually. It was a Christmas present to myself. It started the way most NaNoWriMo novels do. I had a plot. I didn't have an outline. I want to make that clear. I don't write with outlines. I'm what's known as a pantser. I make things up as I go. I know a few plot points. And before this novel happened, my friend gave me a book by the inventor of NaNoWriMo called No Plot, No Problem. And that helped me just start. And I ran away with the novel. And it was written in 2013 and published that same year. And since then, it's kind of taken off and done far better than I ever thought an indie novel would do. I thought I needed representation. I needed like a publisher and all these marketing things, and I've just been fortunate that over the 2+ years since it's been out to learn all that on my own, and I'm still growing.
So what is the general, sort of your elevator pitch for Grave Beginnings? Sort of what's the basic plot?
Okay. The simplest one I can do, it's a really catchy pitch I've learned to use, is X-Files meets Quantum Leap. That
Okay.
pretty much sums it up right there. It's paranormal, mystery universe. The main character has no body. He's a soul without a body of his own. He was murdered by the paranormal, and he's tasked with using other people's mind, body, and memories to solve their murders for them. The more he does it, the more he loses his own memories in order to keep theirs. So there's a bit of a cost there. The series begins in media res, meaning he's been doing this for so long, he no longer remembers who he originally was. So he's working on that as a secondary plot item, trying to get his own identity back, while trying to help others who he really never knew in the first place.
That's a really fascinating idea, and I can see where you could that this could generate quite a few novels. You could go with this for quite a while if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan. Excellent. So that's that's the pantsing plan, as it were. And so the second one is Grave Measures, I take it. And are you currently working on the third one, or are you saving it for November? How's that going?
The third one I'm literally starting Monday. So up until that point, I've been tinkering around, just jotting down. What I do is instead of making outlines, I make key important plot point notes, just things I know. This is how it's going to start. I know the ending. I know
Okay.
the mythologies and culture I'm using. And then I create a running list of jokes I've come up with because my series does have a fair amount of humor and pop culture references to balance how dark, gritty, and adult the series can be. Because urban fantasy has a lot of leanings, but the two most popular right now are things in the vein of the original Hellblazer comics, which are really dark and tackle hard subjects about life, or
Okay.
paranormal erotica, which is not what I write. So to balance off a lot of the darker tones, I do interject humor every now and again. So that's important for me, keeping my jokes.
Now, are you doing any degree of research for this? Anything of the sort?
Yeah, that's that. Fortunately, the reason I gravitated to this genre is because I actually love mythology a lot. So the thing is, I never have to research specifically for a novel because one of my hobbies is constantly researching mythology.
Okay.
In the background behind the banners, I have about 16 different books and compendiums of the world's mythologies. One of them is the largest one in the world, about like 7 to 8,000 pages, which
Mhm.
covers every known reference to anything mythological that's ever existed, and that's what I just go through for fun. So constantly just picking things out, going, "Oh, that's interesting. I'd love to work with that myth," and then finding a way for me to rework it within its culture to be believable while putting my own spin on it.
That's fantastic because, it's a, what do they always say? Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or at least, it won't feel like it.
Right.
Now, I take it that you work with beta readers. How many do you normally work with and that sort of thing?
I try to get 10 per
Okay.
novel. Now, how many get back to me in time is a different thing.
Yeah.
I've learned that I really need 5, but more input is always a good thing. I've learned if you do it in stages, you're never going to get drowned out by it. So, what I'm going to be trying with my newest novel, which I haven't mentioned, is called Dangerous Ways.
Okay.
It's a new series set in the same world as The Grave Report. So, think of it like the paranormal version of a Marvel universe. I'm going to be doing it in stages to where I send it out to 3 beta readers, another 3, and another 3. That way I can see how it progresses between quick edits and changes that might be suggested. It's going to be something I'm going to try new, but it's still going to add up to about my 10 beta readers, and that's going to be an experiment I'm hoping might pay off.
Hmm. One thing that I've noticed in my own work with beta readers is that if people drop off after a while, while it's frustrating, it's not the worst thing in the world, long as you get somebody to go through the whole thing. Because what you really care about are like the first 3 to 5 chapters. I mean, you care about all of them, but you really care about those because if you can get people hooked by then you're pretty much okay, long as nothing really, really horrible happens, or you just sort of fall everything off a cliff, and then suddenly the reader looks up and says, "Oh, no, what the hell just happened here?" Now, let's say your budget is limited, and you can afford either a good cover artist or a professional editor. Who would you pick?
Oh, I'm going to say something that is going to mess up your question, but never be forced to choose. Find a way. 'Cause you cannot have either. You cannot skimp on editing. I learned that the hard way.
Hmm.
And you cannot skimp on a good cover artist. You just can't. There is no, well, I'll make a crappy cover and try to get one later. I'd say find both, but if you have to, editing, and here's why. Because as long as the novel's edited, if you don't go indie, which even though this is what this is part of, you still have a chance to submit it to an agent, and they'll take it more seriously if they're not tripping over words, and that could lead to a publishing offer, which will get you your cover art. But you could have the coolest cover art in the world and a crappy story, and if it gets out there, we're not gonna be nice. You're not gonna get a lot of chances. But I will say this to prove me wrong. I'm not a fan of this, however. There's a system out there which you're probably familiar with, and a lot of the viewers will be Wattpad. There have been poorly edited novels put up there. However, they drew a fan base because their story was engaging enough, and they got picked up. They've gotten agent requests to go like, "Hey, let's polish this. Let's make this into something sellable." And same with publishers. One novel was Paladin by Sally Slater. It's a young adult kind of fantasy. It was up there in its rawest form, like an alpha copy. It was picked up by a publisher, professionally published, released, and it's been successful. She debuted with over 1 million readers.
Yeah, that's and for listeners who don't know what Wattpad is a large website. There's, oh my God, I think there's about 20 million users. There might be more by now. It's very heavily female. It's very heavily young adult slash teenager. It's the people who write there, the overwhelming majority are either American, Canadian, or Filipino, actually. And the reason I know this stuff off the top of my head is because I'm an ambassador at Wattpad.
I did not know this.
And now you do. See, this is an educational broadcast. So, one of the things I also wanted to ask you is because you are like the king of reviews, which is really, really fantastic. You have more reviews than a lot of people who do this combined, and more than a lot of people would ever dream of. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how that started, how you continue to get reviews. You know, what do you do when the well starts to run dry to kind of prime the pump again? You know, how do you get from somebody with maybe one review or no reviews, and you're in like the hundreds of reviews stage, and I'm sure at some point reviews start to generate other reviews. But anyway, not to put words in your mouth, so you tell me.
Well, a lot of it started with just my fame starting to build in the NaNoWriMo group and authors supporting me because I try to help other people. That does help. I'm not going to say that's a strategy, though. That's just always being nice. It will pay off. However, if we're talking about actively trying to get reviews, build an online presence where you're making it clear that you have copies to give away solely for reviewer purposes. There's a great video, I think it's also a TED Talk by Amanda Palmer, the Neil Gaiman's wife, who talked about this culture of just ask. And if you ask for something and you're sincere about it, people are willing to take you up on it. So there's a lot of websites out there. One is called the Indie Reviewer, and what's on there is hundreds of pages of independent bloggers who list their categories of genre, what they review for, and you can reach out to these people and try to build a backlist or a pre-launch list, which is always important before you release your novel, and go, hey, I've got this ARC or this published novel. I'm trying to get more reviews, and make it clear you understand that you're not trying to get a good review from them. You're trying to get an honest one. I'm willing to give you a copy of my work because there's this formula out there called the 100 copy distribution, and it explains how to get your first 100 reviews, you're kind of going to have to give somewhere about 100 copies of your novel out. And that sucks because you put time and work into it, but those 100 reviews will help generate sales and more reviews. It's an investment that you have to take and be proactive about as an author. So since I've released, I've learned that the hard way because I have no marketing background and I'm learning this all guerrilla. Within a week, I was fortunate enough to just hit some lists anyway with my release because the genre being popular. That generated about 10 to 15 reviews within a week. After that, I got that dry spell. And that's when I realized maybe I should be going out to contact people. So I started doing Google research and pulling up reviewers, and I sent out copies left and right. Nerd Girl, a few reviewer websites who I couldn't name off the top of my head. I gave out some to just review groups on Facebook. And I started getting reviews, and it went from 15 to about 20 to 30. It started to die again, and I just repeated the process, and I went to 50. After it hit 50, it started building its own momentum that compounded with me actively sending lists out. And at about 2015, it hit 100. After it hit 100, it snowballed. Since that time, about December, when I hit 100, it's been like 4 or 5 months, and it's already almost at 200, at 185 for book 1. Book 2's sale, that's also important too. If you're writing a series, promote both books in the series. Never let it die off to just being, well, now I'm on book 2, I'll think about book 2. Keep book 1 engaged. So I still give free copies out in book 1. And what I do to help authors is I make it a deal. If you show me proof that you bought another indie author's book, send me a screenshot, days to promote, I will give you a free copy of my novel to say thank you for helping another indie. And I'm always going to ask, please leave a review. That's it. I never make it, again, a thing about leaving a certain review because I know people are going to leave what they want. That's important. Also, in the back of my books, I make sure people can find the book online. I leave links that people can write down or in the digital just click on. And again, it asks one last time, please consider leaving a review. And I explain why. It does help us. And that's it. And I really do believe it's the culture of asking. So many people are afraid about following up on reviewer copies and getting reviews. And you're shooting yourself in the foot because if you've given it out to somebody, you've created an agreement that they're going to read it, they're going to leave a review for better or worse. But they're going to do that. So a part of it is, which sucks, writers being so introverted, that you're going to have to start being a little extroverted and reaching out and making sure people follow up on their commitments when you commit to them. But Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that I think is really hitting the nail on the head, because so much of this seems to be about networking and about kind of putting aside what a lot of us are more traditionally introverted, and maybe that makes us more likely to be readers, and maybe that in turn makes us more likely to be writers, but it doesn't make us marketers. So absolutely, you need to be willing to do that. One thing I've done, I feel is fairly successful, is done it as a trade, just as a straightforward trade. Whereas you have more fame, so you're able to sort of take it to a third step, which is, you, my friend John, if you buy Sally's book, I'll give you my copy.
Right.
Even though the book that you bought wasn't mine, and I didn't make any money off that per se, because what you can do is you can afford to make it the second step kind of review, which is really neat. What is the best advice you think you would give to an independent author, or a
Um,
would-be independent author?
and I got this from a traditionally published author who started their own publishing company, for the record. So it's all over the place, which is why I like it, because it transcends regardless how you publish. And that's be prolific. Just keep writing, because that's going to do more for you than anything else. It's going to improve your skill. It's going to get more work out there for you to be seen by readers and with other authors. The more work you have out there, the larger presence means your other books will get seen, they'll get reviews. Those will domino into other books. More people will take a chance on you. It's this like boulder that goes downhill that just builds up momentum. You have to keep putting work out there, no matter how bad you might be getting nailed on some books for reviews, no matter how bad maybe the last book was in terms of previous success or how afraid you are. I mean, when I released my second book, that the week, not even the whole month, the week of income that jumped just for a release between both books was exponential over the accrued earnings for my book from months before that. And it's simmered down since then, but now I'm at a higher average because I have two books out, which creates obviously two things that people will buy and earn income. It shows that I have a series in development, so people are willing to give me a chance and stick with me, and it just adds up, and it's creating a brand for me. So that one advice, being prolific, it gives so many things to you. There is no loss in it.
Well, and you get through your first million words, and presumably you get through your second million as well, hopefully. And so the first million is to make it so that your stuff isn't garbage, and then the second million is to make sure that your stuff's it gets up there, and it's great. I mean, we're probably not going to become Harper Lee, either of us, but then again, Harper Lee wasn't even Harper Lee at the end there either. Um, I have you got anything else you want to say, or well, let's. I know you got a copy of. I think it's Grave Beginnings with you, so let's
Yeah,
see that.
I've got book one.
Book one. Ooh, book
Also
one.
won Best Book of 2015 by Drop of Ink Reviews, so that's really nice and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Butcher also has a signed copy of this, which made me happy. So does Kevin J. Anderson.
And
two New York Times bestsellers that have my book.
And your cover artist. What is her name?
Sarah Anderson, and she can be found at nosynonym.com. Yeah, I know. This is book two, which is currently in the nominations list for DragonCon Award. So this is under the Best Fantasy, parentheses, Paranormal, because they lumped the categories together.
Mm-hmm.
And the finalist panel will be announced in August. I don't know if I'm going to make finalists. I can always hope. But because I'm lumped with fantasy, it's going to be just 5 pieces for Brandon Sanderson down the line or something.
Hey, it's as long as you're mentioned in that group, that's a good thing, at least to start. And certainly Sarah did a fantastic job on your covers. Oh, yeah. So kudos to her. Anyway, where can we find you online?
Everywhere online. If you put in R Virdi at Google, I'll show up on Amazon, Kobo, Books A Million for both Nook and paperback, Smashwords, Apple iBooks, Sony. I can't think of a publisher I'm not on at the moment. I think I'm available everywhere.
Goodreads. I know you're on Goodreads because I've seen you there.
Goodreads. Yes. I'm also on Goodreads. That is important to know. Another review site, and I am active there. I just don't get as much engagement there as I get through Twitter and Facebook for whatever social media reasons. That I can't explain.
Sometimes it's just a mystery to everybody. So once again, I'd like to thank Ronnie Virdi, an independent author, and the links to where you can buy his books or engage with him on social media will be listed with this video, as will links for the wonderfully talented Sarah Anderson. So thank you so much.
Thank you.